Notes. So notes are a good way to kind of just keep your staff on the same page. And that's how we've seen our clients that use notes heavily, I would say, are using notes for staff communication. So notes are internal only, and it's a good way to log what's going on with a resident, or something, some communication that's happened, or a touch point that happened that you want somebody else to know about. And you can print these notes reports as well. And then every resident has their photo gallery tied to them, and you still have your reporting here too. The other cool feature that was just launched is this groups, which I think is really important right now as well. So you can group your residents based on whatever you would like. So you can search and see who all likes to play bridge, just by typing in bridge here, but then you can also group them here. You can group your resident council. There's all sorts of cool ways to use groups within LifeLoop, and that's been a really popular feature, and one that we actually pushed out with COVID. We quickly changed our roadmap based on what we were hearing from our clients, and that was one of the things. An isolation group, sadly, or a COVID group has been one of the more popular groups, which is very frustrating, but that's how people are using it. Do you guys have questions about the resident management side of things?
I just want to add real quick, Amy, with the likes, I think it's important to remember that the likes are not just a static feature. It's not just to be able to view that resident's likes, but they're also interactive. So you can click on, if there's 3 residents next to that like, you can click on it. It shows you all of those residents that have that similar and common like. But you can also search for the like. So if you're trying to, find someone that also wants to play a specific game with another resident, you're able to do so. And it can be a strong sales tool for your marketing teams as well, for tours or things like that. When someone comes in and they have something that's kind of niche, if you have another resident that has that similar interest, it's a nice way to be able to pair residents up with each other. And then the groups, really, you can group folks into those different groupings. However, Amy's going to show you next the communication, where these groups actually become a function. It's not just going to filter the residents, but then it's going to group them for distribution of communication to those folks if you want to. So I think she's going to get into that next, but I just wanted to mention that.
Yep, absolutely. Very good points. And the connections piece, so, a big component that we've changed is families and connections, which I'm going to talk about now. But every resident's profile will have who's connected to them. And so that brings me into communication. So the biggest thing that we were hearing when everything was going into lockdown was the need to mass communicate to everybody that needed to know what was going on in the community regarding COVID. And so that is where we really changed how the product kind of functions in terms of communication. And we introduced this new concept of a connection versus just a family member. So you can invite somebody. If you are, you're on a resident's profile, you can invite a connection, and they can register, download the app, and you're going to have more functionality as that family member or that connection. So when you get an invitation and you register and you download the app, there's going to be the ability, and I can show you what the family sees, but the ability for them to view the calendar, see the engagement information, potentially request transportation, send notes, photos, etc. But then we also introduced just this concept of a connection. And that's where you can just essentially add your contacts into LifeLoop. And so you can add a new connection, and they don't have to be a LifeLoop user, but it allows them to receive communication. So you can do that via an email address or a phone number. One is required. It doesn't need to be both. And that way they can receive a text or an email with that communication. And then we introduced the ability to group those connections as well as those users or family members into different groups as well. And so think of this as, I'm not sure if you guys use like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, but this is what that is doing now. It is the ability to mass communicate to your folks quickly. We do have this import. It's a self-import. So if you guys are, using, you have your ADP system, you could import those people into here. And that, I think it's ADP that you guys use, but whatever that other system might be where you're wanting to mass communicate to the families, this is an option to do so. And then there's notifications tied to all of that. And this really functions as that emergency broadcast with a lot of our clients. And so these connections, you can sort them by, all connections. These are your resident connections that are tied to a resident. The other concept is community connections. So this could be your other vendors. This could be your volunteers, people that are in the community, or people that you're trying to coordinate that aren't tied to a resident, are community connections. And then all of these, plus all the family members tied to residents, flow over to communication. And our communication modules is pretty robust now. So we have the messaging component, which I'll come back to. I'm going to start with announcements because I think that's the most powerful and an area of opportunity for a lot of our clients during this time. So you can start a new announcement. And you can choose, it's based on your username. So you're only going to see the communities you're tied to, but from a corporate perspective, you can, choose whatever you'd like. So you want to send to the assisted living, and then this is going to pull all your groupings that you have in residence and connections as well. And so you can send to all, POAs or all community connections, whatever groups you have in there. And you can CC staff if you'd like. You can put an update here. And then in this announcement, you can type whatever you would like. You can include links as well. And then you can also add attachments. You can also override your announcement and have it go through as a customized text message. So text messages have a limit of 160 characters. Those can be a link as well. But then this way you can get your point across in that amount of characters, and it can be clear. So COVID update, whatever that might be. It is important to note, we have seen a lot of communities use LifeLoop to distribute their surveys, and that's for family, staff, and residents. So again, I keep talking about family and residents, but you can also use this for your staff communication. And surveys is a component that we've seen a lot of people use and get a lot higher response rates by sending out the links via LifeLoop. So let's see here. Megan, do you have anything else on communication, on the announcements? I'm going to go into these other things, but.
Yeah, just a very small update to announcements just to keep in mind for everyone. So we have that staff to CC option, which it used to be you were only CC'd on the announcement that was sent. So you would see the staff member. So let's say I'm a life enrichment person and I CC my ED on it. They would see my announcement going out, but they wouldn't see replies. We've updated that, and that's changed. So now whoever CC will also see all replies to that announcement. We know a lot of times that you want to keep possibly your administrator, executive director in the loop as well on kind of what those replies are. But also, we also realize staff have days off. So if you have the day off and they're getting replies, then you have someone else on that can be your kind of backup to those announcements as well.
Great. Okay, so messaging. Think of messaging as a communication with an individual or a group is how I would think of it. Again, this is a permission. I'm looking at it from the staff side here. Family can send messages, residents can send messages. who receives those messages is a permission for you guys to determine as a community. And that permission would allow those individuals to communicate back and forth with family and residents. And so you can add, one person to it, you can add a small group, and it's really a message thread. You can add attachments in here, you can type messages. A lot of families write in through messages on the app. And then that is then sent to staff. If you are a staff member, again, going back to kind of the notifications, there is text, email, and in-app notifications tied to essentially every feature in LifeLoop. So messages is one of them. If you receive a message, you will get one of those notifications based on how you have your notifications set up. And that is really where that engagement happens. We are working on push notifications, which has been a feature that's been talked about for a very long time. So that's in the works right now, but the 3 other notifications are currently there. You can also search your messages, which I think is handy, or name your groups. So if you wanted to say, Beth Albert's family, you can do that as well.
And just to add a little bit to the messages, you are able to mute your message. So if you don't want to keep receiving that notification on that message thread, you can mute that. And also, we recently updated, if you do start a message thread and you need to go in and make an edit, you can do that, like a quick typo. You can update that shortly after it's been sent. If you need to update quite a bit of the message, we do suggest just deleting that and resending it. But again, that messaging is more of like that one-to-one and small group, because everyone in that group will receive the replies sent. So just keep that in mind with the messaging.
Thanks, Jess. So this newsletter section here is a great way for you to distribute your newsletters that you're creating in LifeLoop. So if you distribute a newsletter, which you can do in the designer as well, it'll go here, and then that'll notify everybody that needs to be notified. So that could be staff, residents, or family. And it's called newsletters. One of the things that I keep wanting, I just wanted to say, like, documents, because newsletters is an example of what you can send out, but I think eventually we'll change that. So it's more of a docu-share, if that's something you guys would be interested in. The weekly summary is that automatic email that goes out. It goes out on Saturdays, and that is at the community level. So you guys can have your logo tied to it. It's what the family gets in their email. And so it would have your Exarban Village at the top, and then every week, or how often you want, you can change the message. So think of it as an e-newsletter. So it's a great way to give a weekly or monthly update that's automatically going to go out to everybody. If you want to lock that, so it continues to have that same message, you can do that. If you don't, then it'll just go to our standard template that following week. So again, great marketing touch point, great way to stay in front of your residents or your families. But again, I think the biggest component there is the communication and the marketing side of that happens automatically.
To add just a little bit to the weekly summary, we've started a couple campaigns with that as well. So at the bottom of that email that goes out, right now, currently running, it's the Life Express. So connections are able to click on a link, fill out a form, type in a message to their loved one, provide their information, and that comes to us, and then we create postcard that for the residents, and we send those out every week on Wednesdays. So it's just a positive way that we're trying to connect and lift all the resident spirits through this time. The other campaign that was running is the My Community Cares, and this one's really great for your guys' communities and staff members. The family members are able to click on the link to submit the form and kind of give their appreciation, whether that's the community or staff, because they're the ones that are putting in all the time and effort and just want to show some appreciation during this rough year. And so they are able to share on the form if they want this to be shared with social media. So if they do, we forward that and you guys can put that on any of your social media platforms that you choose. So just a few things that we're trying to keep the families engaged with LifeLoop and also your communities.
Yes, those are great points. The LifeLoop Express came right when we saw the need for different types of engagement and family connection. It's one of my favorite features. And then the marketing power of the My Community Cares for you guys as well, you know, has been very big. I know we've had some that right now it's LifeLoop Express. We'll probably go back to My Community Cares at some point, but that's a huge testimonial for your community and why people should live there. So we have seen a lot of dial ones come across when that was the campaign.
And just to give you an idea about the LifeLoop Express, we have a family member each week that will send in just their joke of the week. Or we've had some just come in that just put in the message, I just wanted you to receive something positive instead of junk mail. So it's really whatever they type in for their message is what we send out. So we just are thrilled to lift your resident spirits.
It's awesome.
And on that point, you know, not to get too sidetracked, I'll come back to the product here, but I think that brings up the marketing side of things, the social media side of things. I think more than ever, we're spending a lot of time with our clients' marketing teams on how they present LifeLoop to the community, and not necessarily LifeLoop, but how do they want their culture and transparency to be perceived. Dial does an awesome job on their website. You guys already do that. I think the areas that we see other people kind of, how do you continue to have that message out in front of people is just a constant repetition on social media. You know, other clients are promoting LifeLoop Express and again, it's not about LifeLoop, it's about what it does for those residents and what, you know, think of LifeLoop for Dial as an amenity that you guys are offering. And I know it's taken us 5 years to get there, but I remember early on, Ted would always say, like, this is a value-added service. This is, you know, a differentiator. And I think us starting as kind of just that life enrichment family piece was great, but think of it as this huge culture differentiator for you guys that helps you communicate and streamline that connection with families, which right now is so critical because it's not happening as much as it needs to, or at all. So it's just thinking about it differently is very important. And we've had a lot of growth because of that recently, because clients are realizing now that there's got to be, and it's never going to replace that component of physical touch and being with your loved ones, but it's more about keeping everybody on the same page regarding their loved one. And it's not meant to replace that by any means.
When I think of LifeLoop, and being in the community as opposed to a community that doesn't have it, it's that you guys are really being transparent with their loved ones. And it kind of sets you apart from all the other communities. And would be a reason why I would choose Dial over other communities, because I know that you're having it be kind of, be person-centered and that transparent with everything that you do.
Agreed. So yeah, I think the marketing component is a whole nother conversation that we can go in the weeds on, but those are some pretty important points. The photo library, I'm going to just kind of breeze through these last ones, but the photo library is a great way for you guys to dump all your photos into one place. It's a great way on the mobile app. If you take a photo, it's going to go to LifeLoop, not to their personal device, so it's more secure. A great way to not only organize your photos, but share those moments with the family. The family can also send photos in, and there's notifications tied to those if the resident's not logging in. I foresee us doing some really cool things with photos in the future, kind of in line with the LifeLoop Express. I think it'd be really cool for a family to send a photo in a card format or something like that. So those are all things that we're working towards. And photos continue to be a very highly used feature. Transportation, I think, is, very community specific and how they want to use it depending on their transportation setup. But, how do you coordinate transportation? Think of it concierge again, where do you go? Who's in charge of monitoring transportation? Who can request transportation via LifeLoop? Do you want families to be able to request it? Do you want residents to be able to request it? Those type of things are definitely what we see communities trying to determine, but it really starts with staff and how you're currently organizing it. So every community is a little bit different. I'm happy to go into the weeds on this, just wanted to kind of talk more high level, but I think it's a hard feature to adopt, but once you do, it's extremely beneficial. And again, it streamlines all of those operational things that you're working on. So just want to touch on that. Lisa, do you have any questions on transportation, or do you want me to go into anything specific here?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Same with maintenance. Again, it's a feature that it's a work order management system. It's a permission-based feature. It's a great way for you guys to stay on the same page regarding maintenance. And we look at maintenance and transportation as, again, a communication function for these specific things, but it's getting it all into one place instead of having all these different systems. That's really our value. And again, with staff, you can group your staff as well. So you can, group them into different shifts, into volunteers, into different, whatever grouping you want. So the grouping really helps the communication and distribution. But then every, let's see here, maybe. Everybody has their profile. You have your different permissions that you can set. We can help manage all of that, but that's very important in order to make it work well for your staff. And that's going to depend on what you guys want as an organization. A couple other things, just this product info here. This is where we keep all of our changes that we make to the product. So for you that, just want to see what happened over the last week, this is a really great way to just see what's been pushed out and what's new. We make changes every 2 weeks, sometimes more often. And there's a lot always being pushed out. I can't keep up with it at all. So, and again, this is the staff side of things, I think, and I can go into the family and resident as well. But I think the big thing is to point out with LifeLoop is just the hardware component. And it's always a piece that we're talking to our clients about. I think you guys have come a long way with that, which is great. But this is the web-based view. It's an app on both Android and Apple. And, it works on tablets, computers, phones, etc. So just to point that out. And that's every view that we have. So families can download the app. They can also log on their computer. So can residents. Megan or Jess, do you guys have anything else in terms of staff? No? Okay.
I don't think so. I think the main thing for staff just to keep in mind is the accessibility in general, that it's hardware agnostic. You know, they can get to LifeLoop on a computer, on a tablet, on a phone, similar to family or residents, but just to keep that in mind that, you know, they really can access it on any device that they prefer. And we know a lot of staff is on the go and on the move. So it's really nice to have that option of being able to access it on a mobile app or tablet as well.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions? Nope. All right. Lisa, do you want me to touch on the family and resident stuff?
If you just want to highlight the family, just really quick.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. If I can figure out how to do that, I will. One second here.
And I think too, while Amy's going through this, this family component is something that we really tried to put a lot of focus on from a dial perspective in terms of it's so easy to collect email information in terms of getting family connected to residents. So you're going to know those residents that, you know, are talking with family frequently, or maybe have a loved one that lives far away, you know, and they don't get to see each other as often. This is a great tool just to stay connected. And there's various different features that again, family member can view on a weekly basis to ensure that their loved one is, you know, staying as active as possible. So it is a great tool. So we want to continue to increase the utilization on the family side as well as we continue to move forward with this.
Absolutely. So I'm logged in on a computer as Joan Edwards, who is Anne's daughter in this case. And so I would be able to see everything Anne went to or declined. It gives you this summary of, you know, she attended 21 activities, 5.3 a week, declined 3, and then these different types are there. You can look back 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. There's descriptions in those as well. I can then go to the calendar and I can see what's on that community calendar. I can see, you know, day, week, month. I can also see Anne's personal calendar, which I think is important right now. So anything she's registered for, anything the staff has registered for, any rides, etc., are on her personal calendar. And then this is that communication. So I would receive any messages. I can send a message to anybody that's connected to Anne herself. If she's not logging in, the staff will, you can definitely send it to the staff. You can send it to any other family members on that like thread that we talked about. You can name a group, those sort of things. And then notifications are tied to that. Announcements, again, I'm going to receive any announcements from staff via text, email, or in my app as a family member. I'll also get notified when there's a newsletter published as well. So if I'm logged in right now as a family, I can go and see the past published newsletters. I can go see the announcements that I've received. I can see any messages that I'm a part of. And then these are any photos that have been uploaded to Anne's profile or photos she's been tagged in at an activity. And then transportation and maintenance are both optional. I'd have to look. I don't know that you guys have these on. I can't remember, but transportation, what's that?
We don't have them on.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I couldn't remember if you turned on transportation for family or not. So these are both not turned on for you guys. If you ever wanted them, they could be. So it just kind of depends on the community. I get the double-edged sword on that one. So that's what they see. I'd say most of our families are engaging in that weekly email still. Family engagement is a huge part of our roadmap for 2021, and I anticipate adding some cool new features on the family side. So that's the family side of things. I think, again, social media for communities in the marketing side of things, you guys are doing a great job with your websites already, highlighting LifeLoop. I just, wanted to give you guys a refresher and show you everything that the product does. It's come a long way, and we really appreciate your partnership, and any feedback is welcome all the time. Jess is a great person to send feedback to, and then she'll get that over to our product team.
Yeah, and it is so true when they say, the users bring forth the best ideas. So you guys bringing the ideas of how you're using the tool and different things that can be done to, make it better. The team at LifeLoop is always open to that information. And as they prioritize their work, they're always taking into consideration that input from their user community. So.
Does anybody have questions or want to talk through anything?
No, this was helpful. Thank you.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate all you guys are doing.
And they did record this session, so we understand everybody has a very busy schedule. So we'll make sure that we publish this. And then, just as Amy was going through kind of that product information tab, as you can see, there's just a lot of things that they roll out on a consistent basis. So that is part of why we want to do those follow-up monthly lunch and learns that Jess will lead. And really, it's just, again, a forum to, highlight and discuss the changes, offer a Q&A. So if in speaking with your teams, if there's something that they would like added to that discussion, we're going to start with connections and communications, because we really feel that's been an area that's changed significantly, and we potentially have some opportunities to leverage that in the day-to-day operations. But if there's something that you guys really feel that, hey, this is an area that we want to revisit or understand better how we could integrate this into the day-to-day, let Jess know, and she'll be more than willing to add that to the next discussion. But yeah, I think that a lot of the enhancements, especially with the mobility of the information and looking at, the family members of our residents, the children, they're used to getting everything on their phones. So the text messages and all that mobility has just really increased the capabilities and how those individuals access information quickly, and, just making it very easy. So yeah, that's it. Amy, thank you and your team so much for taking time out with us today. We really appreciate it. And I think, Jess, we'll be in touch, and we'll start to get those invites on the calendar, and then look forward input from the EDs in terms of who they want to participate from their team's perspective, and how we just continue to foster and this relationship and continue focusing on capabilities within the tool. So
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate everybody and all you do. So just reach out and let us know if you need anything.
awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.